Chosen one, the shocking truth just broke, and the message is clear: you were framed, and now everyone is disgusted. Right now, the people who engineered the lie are watching their world collapse in real time. The disgust has shifted directions, and it is no longer pointed at you. What unfolds next is irreversible. Your name clears permanently. Their credibility fractures publicly. Divine justice doesn't argue, it reveals. The outcome is final, witnessed by everyone. This wasn't a spontaneous rumor mill. This was engineered. You got studied like a target. Your strengths got catalogued. Your consistency, your integrity, your quiet power, and a realization hit them that triggered panic. You were a walking contradiction to everything your accusers pretended to be. Your authenticity made their performance look cheap. Your silence made their noise sound desperate. Your boundaries made their manipulation obvious. So they made a decision. If they couldn't dim your light, they would convince everyone it was dangerous. They took real pieces of your character and weaponized them. Your discernment became coldness in their script. Your peace became arrogance. Your refusal to play games became proof you were playing the biggest game of all. They knew total fabrications fall apart too fast, so they twisted fragments of truth until your strengths looked like threats. And they sold it so smoothly that even people who knew you started questioning their own perception. That's not amateur gossip. That's psychological warfare with your name as the battlefield. Every lie they told was actually a confession wearing a mask. Every accusation described their own playbook being projected onto you. They called you manipulative while they orchestrated your downfall in conversations you weren't part of. They labeled you selfish while they used your name as their stepping stone for credibility. They pointed at fakeness while they performed concern like an audition. The whole time they claimed to be exposing you, they were actually exposing themselves in slow motion. Heaven just let the camera roll. The frame wasn't random, it was necessary. Not because you deserved it, but because everyone around you needed testing. Crisis doesn't build character, it reveals what was already there. Your downfall became the test that showed who carried real discernment and who just fed on drama. The people who instantly believed the worst about you weren't neutral. Their spirits were already tuned to gossip and envy. The ones who maintained quiet faith without proof weren't gullible. Their frequency recognized yours even through the static. This whole setup was a sorting mechanism disguised as a scandal, and you were the bait heaven used to catch every fake in your radius. They expected an explosion from you, frantic self-defense, public spiraling that would give them fuel for the sequel to their story. Your breakdown was supposed to validate their narrative. If you had lost composure, they would have claimed, "See, we told you instability was the problem." If you had attacked back, they would have pointed and said, "See, we warned you danger was there." Your reaction was meant to be their vindication. But you didn't give it to them. You held your ground. You bit your tongue when shredding their credibility with facts was possible. You stayed composed when every fiber of your being wanted to burn their world down. What they mistook for weakness was actually you passing a test nobody announced. Heaven doesn't promote people who provoke easily. Real power isn't proved by how hard you hit back. It's proved by how calm you stay when destroying someone is your right. Every day you held your silence was another day you contradicted their entire story about who you were. They claimed chaos. You moved with precision. They labeled you unhinged. You remained measured. They warned of vengefulness. You chose peace. Your endurance became the evidence that outlasted their lies. While you were quiet on earth, you were loud in heaven. Every moment you chose restraint over defense was recorded as testimony. Every night you cried alone instead of dragging them publicly was logged as proof of your character. Every time you held your peace when you had receipts that could have ended them was noted in a courtroom operating beyond public opinion. You weren't just surviving, you were building a case in the spiritual realm, and that case is now being delivered with compound interest. The irony hits brutal and beautiful. The same silence they interpreted as guilt is what makes you untouchable now. The same restraint they mocked as weakness is what makes you look godly now. The same endurance they called cold is what proves your spirit operates on a frequency they can't even perceive. You didn't just refuse to play their game, you proved you were never in their league to begin with, and that realization is hitting them harder than any public call-out ever could. This wasn't just about belief in the lie versus belief in you. This was a frequency test. Every soul vibrates at a certain level. Truth carries one vibration, deception carries another. When the smear campaign launched, people's reactions revealed which wavelength they were locked into. The people who instantly bought the story weren't just misinformed, their spirits were already resonating with low-level energy, gossip, envy, pleasure in downfall. They couldn't discern your truth because their frequency had no compatibility with it. Think about this. A lie about you only sticks to people whose energy matches the lie's vibration. Someone operating at a higher frequency feels the dissonance immediately. It doesn't sit right. It doesn't sound true. Their discernment alarm gets triggered even when they can't articulate why. But someone vibrating low locks onto drama instantly. It confirms what they wanted to believe. It gives them permission to tear down what they secretly envied. The frame became a filter separating high-frequency souls from low-frequency consumers of chaos. People are experiencing energetic recoil. The disgust they're feeling isn't just emotional, it's physical. Their bodies are rejecting the toxic story they consumed like it's food poisoning. They feel discomfort around your accusers now. They can't make eye contact. They can't laugh at their jokes. The energy feels wrong because their spirits are finally syncing with truth and rejecting the lie they were fed. This is vibrational justice. Truth didn't just change minds. It recalibrated the entire atmosphere around your name. This recalibration isn't finished. The exposure you're seeing now is just the beginning. Every person who aligned with your accusers is about to feel the weight of what they co-signed. Every silent bystander is about to confront why they chose comfort over courage. The frequency shift happening around you isn't just clearing your name, it's upgrading your entire circle. The people who stay in your orbit after this will be the ones whose energy can match where you're going next. The rest will naturally repel, because the vibration won't align anymore. If these words stirred your consciousness, hype this video to help more chosen ones awaken to this. Every accusation thrown at you was actually a confession through projection. You weren't being described. Your accusers were describing themselves and using your name as a cover. The manipulation you got accused of was their playbook. The selfishness you supposedly showed was them using people as props. The toxicity they warned others about was their own poison spilling out. They were telling on themselves the entire time and nobody caught it because the performance was too convincing. Listen to the specificity in those accusations, too detailed to be guesses, too personal to be observations. They knew those behaviors intimately because they were living them. When someone calls out manipulation and lists exact tactics, you're not being read. Their manual is being read from. When emotional games get described with surgical precision, your moves aren't being imagined. Their own are being replayed. Every insult was a confession. Every warning was a self-report. They gave themselves away with every word, but the audience was too entertained to notice. Time is the ultimate truth serum. Lies require maintenance. You have to remember which version you told to which person. You have to keep updating the story to cover contradictions. It's exhausting. Truth just sits there unchanged, waiting. Over time, their narrative started decaying from the inside. Details stopped matching. The timeline developed gaps. The tone shifted from confident to desperate. People started feeling uneasy without knowing why. That was their intuition screaming that something smelled rotten. Now the decay is visible and spreading. Every lie they told has turned into a timestamp of guilt. Stories that once earned them sympathy are now evidence being used against them. Accusations that made them look righteous now make them look sick. And the beautiful irony is that you didn't have to expose them. They exposed themselves through their own mouths. The frame they built for you became the noose they used on themselves. All you had to do was stay alive long enough to watch it happen. What looked like your lowest point was actually heaven's construction zone. You weren't being buried, you were being planted. God allowed the cloud of accusation to settle on you for a specific reason, to hide you while something got built in you that couldn't be built in public. Shame became your covering. Isolation became your classroom. The humiliation you felt was the camouflage keeping you concealed while transformation happened in the dark. While people debated your character, heaven was certifying it. While the world questioned your integrity, God was inscribing it in permanent record. Every moment you endured false accusation without retaliating was logged as evidence of spiritual maturity. Every day you held your peace was recorded as proof you could handle power without corrupting. You weren't just surviving a smear campaign, you were passing an initiation that most people never face. And every tear you cried in secret was seed being planted for a harvest your accusers can't even imagine yet. When you frame a chosen one, you're not just attacking a person, you're challenging a divine assignment. You're going up against an energy that heaven itself backs. And heaven doesn't fight fair. It doesn't operate on human timelines. It waits, it watches, it lets the enemy dig their own grave with their own words. Then when the trap is fully set, when every villain has revealed themselves completely, heaven pulls the curtain back and lets light flood every corner. That's what's happening now. This isn't just vindication, this is revelation with your name at the center. The hidden season wasn't punishment, it was preparation. While they were building a story about you, God was building a legacy in you. While they were spreading lies, heaven was spreading roots deep in your character. While they were tearing down your reputation, divinity was constructing your platform. You were hidden in shame, so that when truth revealed you, the glory would be undeniable. The lower they pushed you, the higher the catapult was being pulled back. And now the release is coming. Not just to clear your name, but to launch you into a dimension of favor they can't touch. The truth just broke. Not leaked, not whispered, broke, like a dam that can't hold back water anymore. The lies they maintained for so long just collapsed under their own weight. And the exposure isn't polite. It's not giving them space to spin it. It's raw, unedited, undeniable proof that you were right all along. Receipts are printing in public view. The timeline is being reconstructed with evidence they can't dispute. And the collective realization is hitting everyone at once. People aren't just learning you were innocent. They're seeing exactly how guilty your accusers were. They're watching the methodology of your destruction get displayed like evidence in a courtroom. They're understanding that this wasn't a misunderstanding. This was premeditated, strategic, calculated, and the disgust spreading through every circle that doubted you isn't mild disappointment. It's visceral, physical, the kind of revulsion you feel when you realize you consumed poison thinking it was food. Opinion of you isn't just changing. People are experiencing energetic recoil from what they aligned with. Remember how they used your name to build their credibility. That's reversing now. Every person they convinced becomes a witness to their deception. Every ally they recruited becomes evidence of how far manipulation spread. Every platform they used to slander you becomes the stage where their fraud gets displayed. The same systems they weaponized against you are now weaponized against them by truth itself. Poetic justice doesn't even cover it. This is divine irony operating at maximum efficiency. And the stakes are escalating. This isn't just about reputation anymore. This exposure is costing them relationships, opportunities, trust, influence. Everything they gained by standing on your name is being repossessed. The credibility they borrowed is being called in with interest. The social capital they accumulated is evaporating in real time. They're watching their world shrink while yours expands, not because you're attacking them, but because truth is a force that rearranges everything it touches. They built their kingdom on sand. The tide just came in. The frame wasn't your destruction, it was your documentation. Every lie they told became evidence of your importance. Think about it. Weak people don't get elaborate smear campaigns. Threats do. All that effort didn't happen because you were irrelevant. They orchestrated your downfall because your rise was inevitable, and everyone knew it. Your light was getting too bright. Your influence was spreading too fast. Your authenticity was making their performance look pathetic. So they tried to kill your credibility before your truth killed their illusion. The dirt becomes the foundation for their platform. Every shovel of slander they threw on you just raised the ground you're standing on. Every lie they spread just amplified your name. Every person they turned against you just cleared space for the right people to enter. They thought destruction was happening. Promotion was the reality. They were advertising you, making you famous in heaven before you were vindicated on earth. The frame was your initiation into authority. They'll never touch. Now that truth has broken, the reversal is complete. The shame they threw at you became your crown. The isolation they forced on you became your preparation. The humiliation they celebrated became your platform. Everything they used as a weapon against you transformed into a tool for your elevation. And they have to watch it happen. They have to see you rise from the ashes of the story they burned you with. They have to witness the chosen one they tried to erase become more undeniable than ever. The disgust people feel toward your accusers isn't just moral judgment, it's energetic rejection. When truth breaks through after being suppressed, it doesn't just change information, it purges toxicity from the system. People who consumed the lies about you are now experiencing what happens when their bodies catch up with what their spirits always knew. The lie tasted sweet going down, but now it's making them sick, and they can't untaste it. Watch what happens when someone who believed the story about you encounters your accusers now. The energy feels wrong, the laughter sounds forced, the charm looks plastic. They can't unsee the manipulation, they can't unhear the lies. The frequency has shifted, and their bodies are rejecting what their minds once accepted. This is vibrational justice in real time. Truth didn't just win the argument, it changed the atmosphere. The same people who once avoided you out of moral superiority now can't stand to be near the ones who set you up. This disgust isn't coming from you campaigning against your accusers. You didn't have to drag them. You didn't have to expose them. Truth did the heavy lifting. Divine timing did the revealing. And now the people who participated in your framing or stayed silent during it are being confronted by their own reflection. They're seeing what they became when they chose drama over discernment, when they picked the entertaining lie over the boring truth. When they valued their comfort more than your dignity, the stakes just escalated again. This isn't just personal vindication anymore. This is a collective awakening. People are realizing that if they got you this wrong, what else did they get wrong? If your accusers could fool them this completely, who else are they being fooled about? The exposure of your frame is triggering a domino effect that's making people question everything. And your accusers are panicking because they're losing control of narratives beyond just yours. The crack in their credibility is spreading like a fracture through glass. They expected you to gloat, to attack, to seek revenge. Now that truth is on your side, they're bracing for the public, dragging they know they deserve. But that's not the move. That's still playing on their level. Real power doesn't need to prove anything anymore. Real authority doesn't require performance. You already won. The truth already broke. The vindication already happened. What you do now isn't about them. It's about stepping fully into what you were being prepared for while they were trying to destroy you. This is the circular narrative coming full circle. Remember how this started. Truth kicked down the door, not you, truth itself. You didn't have to force anything. You didn't have to manipulate the exposure. You just had to last long enough for divine timing to catch up with their lies. And now that it has, your job isn't revenge, it's reign. You don't get even, you get elevated. You don't clear your name by attacking theirs. You clear your name by becoming so undeniable that the lie looks absurd in hindsight. You're not reactive, you're creative. You're not focused on who wronged you. You're focused on what's next. You're not replaying the betrayal. You're building the empire. The best response to people who tried to bury you isn't digging them up. It's blooming so loud they can't ignore the garden they thought they destroyed. Your elevation is the revenge heaven designed. Your success is the response truth authored. Your peace is the power move they can't counter. Watch what happens when you refuse to be bitter, when you choose building over bitterness, when you step into your calling without looking back at who tried to stop you. It doesn't just change your trajectory, it changes the entire narrative. People stop seeing you as a victim who survived. They start seeing you as a force that can't be stopped. The frame becomes ancient history. The lies become footnotes. And you become the main character in a comeback story that heaven ghost wrote. Now let me put you onto something real. Destiny Engine. I built this because I was done watching chosen ones get dragged through betrayal, isolation and attacks while their enemies strutted around unchecked. I want to help you accelerate the speed of your divine justice and step fully into your purpose. And the beauty of it, you don't even have to lift a finger. Destiny Engine takes their downfall and flips it into your rise. This isn't another meditation app. It's declassified consciousness technology, the same mind programming tools your enemies once used to install fear, competition and scarcity, re-engineered to restore your sovereignty and align you with the cooperative upgraded operating framework. It generates personalized sequences mapped to your divine purpose. The hardest thing you'll do is put on headphones, press play and watch your enemies keep digging their own grave. The collective upgrade is underway. Start your Destiny Engine for $1 today and turn everything they did to break you into fuel for your rise. Link in the description. They tried to erase your name from relevance, and instead they created legendary status. Every person who heard the lies also heard your name. Every conversation they started about you spread your influence further than you could have alone. They gave you reach you never asked for, notoriety you didn't seek, a platform built on controversy that truth is now converting into credibility. They meant it for evil. God meant it for marketing. Now that truth has broken, everyone who heard the lie is also hearing the vindication. The same networks they used to spread slander are now spreading your story of endurance. The same people who watched your fall are now watching your rise. And the contrast is so stark, the reversal so complete, that your name carries weight it wouldn't have without the frame. You're not just known anymore, you're known as someone who survived what should have destroyed them, who stayed silent when they could have lashed out, who held integrity when revenge was available. That's not just a reputation, that's a legacy. The frame they built became your credentials for assignments they can't even imagine. Opportunities are opening, now that only come to people who've been tested in fire and came out refined. Doors that credentials alone can't access, rooms that performance can't enter, levels that require proof of character under pressure. You have that proof now, certified by heaven, documented by time, witnessed by everyone who watched you endure what would have broken lesser spirits. Your accusers built your credentials while trying to destroy your credibility. What they built to trap you became the foundation for your throne. Every lie is now a brick in your platform. Every accusation is now a step in your staircase. Every moment they tried to bury you just raised the ground you're standing on. You're not rising despite what they did. You're rising because of what they did. Their attack became your advantage. Their weapon became your tool. Their frame became your stage. This is divine architecture at its finest. God took their evil intent and flipped it into your elevation. The isolation they forced on you cleared space for the right connections. The shame they threw at you burned away anything not built to last. The lies they spread became the contrast that makes your truth shine brighter. Nothing was wasted. Every attack had a purpose. Every tear had a return. Every moment of suffering was an investment that's paying compound interest now. You're not the same person who entered that season of false accusation. You're refined, tested, proven, unshakable. You know what you're made of because you were forced to find out. You know who you can trust because everyone got tested. You know what you can endure because you just survived what kills most people's spirit. That knowledge is power. That experience is authority. That testimony is your weapon now. Not against people, but against every limit they tried to place on your destiny. The circular narrative closes here. We started with truth kicking down doors. We end with you walking through those doors into rooms they said you'd never access. We started with their lies spreading. We end with your truth echoing louder. We started with disgust aimed at you. We end with disgust aimed at them, and awe aimed at you. The story came full circle, but you didn't return to the starting point. You returned transformed, elevated, unstoppable. You can't fake what you just went through. You can't manufacture the kind of character that gets forged in false accusation. You can't perform the spiritual maturity that only comes from being tested at this level. What happened to you wasn't just about clearing your name. It was about upgrading your entire spiritual operating system. You got access to a dimension of wisdom that only comes through suffering unjustly and choosing righteousness anyway. Think about what you learned in that darkness. You discovered that your peace doesn't depend on people's opinions. You found out that your worth isn't determined by who believes in you. You realized that your calling doesn't require permission from anyone who doesn't understand it. You learned to hear God's voice above the noise of accusation. You developed discernment that can detect deception before it fully manifests. You built spiritual muscle that can carry weight most people crumble under. Your accusers wanted to break you. Instead, they broke you open. They wanted to expose your flaws. Instead, they exposed your capacity. They wanted to reveal your weakness. Instead, they revealed your resilience. Every attack was meant to diminish you but ended up expanding you. Your capacity for forgiveness grew. Your ability to love despite betrayal deepened. Your understanding of divine justice matured. Your faith in timing beyond your control strengthened. You came out of that fire with treasures they'll never possess because they've never been tested at the temperature you survived. Let's talk about the specific kind of authority you're walking in now. This isn't borrowed. This isn't performed. This isn't positional. This is earned through suffering injustice without becoming unjust. This is the rarest form of spiritual authority, because most people who get falsely accused become bitter. They become cynical. They become hard. They become the very thing they were accused of being. But not you. You maintained your softness without becoming weak. You kept your heart open without becoming naive. You stayed kind without becoming a doormat. That combination is lethal to darkness. Your accusers don't know how to fight someone who won't fight back, but also won't back down. They don't understand how to defeat someone who's already surrendered to a higher authority. They can't manipulate someone who's learned to hear God's voice above the crowd. You're operating from a place of such secure identity that their attacks don't even register anymore, not because you're numb, but because you're rooted. This authority you carry now opens doors that talent alone can't access. It creates opportunities that networking can't manufacture. It attracts divine connections that strategy can't orchestrate. People in positions of real power recognize what you've been through. They see the evidence of fire on your life. They understand that you can be trusted with influence because you didn't abuse power when you were powerless. They know you can handle blessing because you didn't curse when you were being cursed. Your accusers are watching this unfold with confusion and envy. They're seeing doors open for you that stay closed to them. They're witnessing favor land on you that bypasses them. They're observing influence flow to you that rejects them. And they can't figure out why. They have the image, they have the performance, they have the network, but what they don't have is the character that only comes from being refined. What they lack is the authority that only comes from passing the test they failed. Heaven doesn't promote people based on talent. It promotes based on trustworthiness. It doesn't elevate based on charisma. It elevates based on character. It doesn't anoint based on potential. It anoints based on proven faithfulness. You proved yourself faithful when everything in you wanted to be vengeful. You proved yourself trustworthy when they gave you every reason to become deceitful. You proved yourself stable when the whole world tried to make you unstable. Your accusers wanted to make an example out of you. God used you to make a statement. They wanted your story to be a warning. Heaven turned it into encouragement. They wanted your name to be a cautionary tale. Truth made it a testimony of triumph. You're not just vindicated for yourself. You're vindicated for every chosen one who's been framed, every innocent person who's been slandered, every pure heart that's been painted as poison. Your story is proof that the system of lies eventually collapses under the weight of truth. The exposure of your frame is causing people to question other narratives, to look deeper into other accusations, to wait before believing other smear campaigns, to use more discernment before participating in other people's destruction. Your vindication is making it harder for false accusers to succeed. Your story is raising the standard for proof. Your endurance is showing others what real strength looks like. You didn't just get your name cleared, you're changing the culture around how accusations get handled. Think about the legacy you're leaving, not just for yourself, but for the next generation of chosen ones who will face similar attacks. They'll have your story as evidence that survival is possible. They'll have your example as proof that maintaining integrity under pressure pays off. They'll have your testimony as confirmation that heaven really does fight for those who refuse to fight dirty. You're not just a survivor, you're a forerunner. You're not just vindicated, you're paving a path for others to walk. Your accusers thought they were ending your influence. They were actually amplifying it beyond what you could have achieved without the attack. Every person who watches your story understands that if you can survive this and come out crowned, maybe they can too. Every soul who witnesses your transformation sees hope for their own. Every heart that observes your endurance finds courage for their own journey. You became a living sermon that heaven is using to preach without words. Chosen one, this is where everything lands. You're not stepping back into your old life. You're stepping up into your real assignment, the one they tried to kill before it could fully form, the calling they saw in you before you saw it in yourself, the influence they feared, the impact they tried to prevent, the authority they couldn't control, so they tried to destroy. All of it is still here, waiting, bigger than before, because it was tested by fire and survived. The shocking truth that just broke isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of your reign. The frame wasn't your finale. It was your origin story. Every superhero has a villain. Every legend has a crisis. Every throne has a wilderness season before it. You just lived yours, and now you're walking into the chapter where everything you endured becomes the proof of everything you're about to accomplish. Your past pain is your future credibility. Your persecution is your platform. Your test is your testimony. Here's the final revelation. They were never your real enemy. They were your audition. Heaven was watching how you'd respond to betrayal, how you'd handle false accusation, how you'd carry yourself when innocent but condemned, whether you'd stay pure when you had every right to become bitter, whether you'd hold integrity when revenge was available, whether you trust divine timing when human justice was delayed. You passed with flying colors, and the reward isn't just vindication, it's elevation into authority that requires the exact character you just proved you have. So breathe it in, chosen one. The worst is behind you. The truth is out. The lies are exposed. Your accusers are disgusted with themselves, and you're standing in the center of it all, untouched by the chaos, unmoved by the noise, unshaken by the exposure, because you already knew, you always knew. Deep down your spirit never accepted their version of events, even when your mind struggled to understand why this was happening. Now you know. It was preparation disguised as persecution. It was elevation disguised as humiliation. It was a setup designed by heaven to prove what you're made of and remove everyone who couldn't handle where you're going next. The door just got kicked down, not by you, by truth itself, and now you're walking through it into a dimension of favor, influence and authority that they tried to prevent but actually prepared you for. Your name is clear, your character is proven, your endurance is legendary, and your next chapter is about to make everything you survived make perfect sense. This is your moment, not to look back, but to step forward into the reign they accidentally built for you while trying to destroy you. The shocking truth just broke, and it broke every chain they tried to bind you with. Now walk free, walk powerful, walk in the authority that was forged in the fire they lit. You're not just vindicated, you're crowned, and the whole world is about to watch what a chosen one looks like when heaven decides it's time to reveal what was hidden in shame. Your time is now.